Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Suzanne, and this video is all about how I sewed the fabric cover. And like I said before, if you're a sewer, this should be easy for you. But I had two covers that I sewed together. I stripped the side pieces off that you see in the picture, the ones that clip to the bottom of the poles. Those came off, so I had a complete square. I folded it on the diagonal, so if you move it so that the cover is diamond shaped, fold it in half so you have a triangle. That's how I started this project, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. I've got 6 hoops here, 3 that are for one gazebo cover, and the other 3 are the second gazebo cover. Here, this is the seam joining the 2 covers. So what I did was I started with one gazebo cover. And here's the center peak of the top of the cover where it goes on the frame, at the peak of the frame in the middle. So I started with that, and what I did was I sewed a casing about 1 3/4 inches wide at least. You could go up to 2 inches to fit the 3/4 tubing. If you have a 1/2 inch tubing, then you have a smaller casing. So I sewed the middle casing first, which is at the very center point of the gazebo cover. And I made it, originally I was going to fit a 7-foot hoop. I decided to add another foot to the hoop. So I made the casing to fit the 7-foot hoop. So it's about 42 inches on either side of the center point to equal almost about 7 feet. So the 8-foot hoop still fits, and I did not make the casing any longer. From there, from the middle hoop, I measured approximately 30 inches from the casing to the next casing and stitched another one. And then the third hoop, I went to the other side of the center point and measured another 30 inches to do the third casing. So I did the exact same on the second gazebo, and I made all 3 casings, and then I joined the 2 together. So I laid it down on the floor before I stitched the 2 covers together, and because I needed to cover at least 11.5 feet. I'm going to let the sides drape over the bed on either side and see how that looks. I haven't tried this yet on my bed, so I have no idea how it's going to look once it's on the bed. At each end, you're left with a corner. Now, this one, I ended up folding it over, the corner over, so you have like a triangle. I ended up making another casing and putting a piece of tubing about 30 inches long inside the casing. So what I might do is to tie it down at both ends of the bed, I'm going to feed a rope through this to tie it down so it doesn't go anywhere. And I figured that was the simplest way. What you see here is that on the center seam of one side of the cover, which you will note at the beginning of this video I pointed out was the first casing made, I folded the cover at that particular point. So the end part is the actual corner that's hanging on the side of the garden bed in the picture that you just viewed. So this is one corner. I pinned a line just beneath the casings. This one here, this is the seam joining the two gazebo covers together. This is the point where on one side of the bed I thought it fell a little short. So what I'm going to do here, let me just pull this over. I'm going to sew a piece, a triangle piece, and if you just follow the line here that I'm using with this piece of tubing to cover this so that it overlaps the side of the bed. I'm going to cut at this point here all along the side here and finish the seam. Let me get to this. I'm going to cut it and I'll show you what it looks like in a sec. Okay, so here's the cut piece. I just eyeballed it. As you can see, I went below this line here just so that I would have a little bit of extra room. And I forgot about, I had pieces of Velcro that were part of the gazebo cover. These wrapped around the frame on the gazebo itself, so I had to cut them out. You may have to, I have to do a little bit of stitch ripping here. So there it is. Now here's a tip. This piece here, keep it handy because that will be your template as far as cutting the three corners to be consistent as far as sizing goes. So my next step is to finish the seam, and I'm also going to add that triangle piece to elongate that center seam joining the two sides of the cover. Here's a tip here. I took the scrap fabric that had been cut from the two pieces when before joining the two gazebo covers. So I placed the extra piece is on the bottom here, and what I'm doing is I'm fitting the center point seam where the two covers were sewn together, and I'm placing it on top so I get a perfect triangle placement. I'm going to pin this together so I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to top stitch this piece together, and then I'm going to cut it along the edge of the seam line and show you how it looks. So here's the piece pinned. I tried to center it as much as I could, so I pinned it first, and then I flipped it over, and I just cut a wide girth around the pins here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch this. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but when you sew this, I used upholstery thread on my spool and regular thread in the bobbin just to strengthen the stitching. So let me sew this up and I'll show you what it looks like. So here it is, top stitched along the ribbon edging here, and to hide it, and you can't even tell that it's been sewn as a different piece. Okay, so here's the second side that I did. I top stitch it, same thing as the first, and then I went and serged the edging to finish it off, and it turned out pretty good. I am going to cut another corner piece here using the first one that I cut as a template, the leftover piece. So I'm going to take this and put it on top and use this as my template. This way I'm guaranteed that all the sides will be the same. and then after that I will finish off the other two corner pieces, cut them, and once I have everything sewn up, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, another tip I wanted to talk about is pinning the template down to the piece that you're cutting, just so that it doesn't move and everything here is even. All the end seams are even. Okay, I finished the sides. And I don't know if you can see here clearly. I serged the seams. And if you don't have a serger, I suggest you either do a zigzag or turn it over once and top stitch with a wide zigzag. That's your best bet, just so that it doesn't fray. And I'm done. This is it. My next step is to add the T's at the end of each of the hoops, and I'm going to fit it onto the bed to see how it all looks like. Oh, if you have any questions, and I'm sure you will, please put them in the comments section. Thanks again for watching, and on to the next video. Bye for now.